Coming up next on Tech News Today, Tesla's Model 3 event is tonight. Many are wondering if it might be Tesla's iPhone moment. Also, Whisper is laying off 20% of its staff. Altspace VR is going under, and that might not bode well for venture funding for VR. And dating expert Sam Moscovich from Ars Technica shares his thoughts on OkCupid versus Tinder. All that and more coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1820, recorded Friday, July 28th, 2017.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you looking to hire a tech professional? With ZipRecruiter, you can post to 100-plus job boards, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life, and that's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/TNT.
Welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we tell you what you need to know about technology. I'm Megan Maroney.
I'm Jason Howell. That's like action news.
Yeah.
That's our action news. We didn't quite get the zoom in thing, but Anthony's new here, so
He is, yeah.
We'll give him some time to work up to that.
I don't like to be zoomed in too far anyway.
Oh,
so.
okay. I can understand that.
You can
Me too.
zoom all
Me
you
too.
want into Jason.
Yeah,
He doesn't
just
care.
stay this far out for the rest of the show. We'll be dang it, see, you zoomed. Whatever.
Happy cheap Tesla Day.
Yay! I've been waiting all my life for this.
Yeah. If $35,000 before customizations is cheap to you for a car, Tesla will deliver its first Model 3 tonight. And ReCode says this could be Elon Musk's iPhone moment. The car is sold out through most of 2018 with 350,000 pre-orders in April 2016 alone. Now, in some states, the sting of that $35,000 price tag can be lessened a bit by a $7,500 federal tax cut. Federal, that's not what it's called, a tax cut. It's called a, what do you call it? Rebate, tax rebate.
There you
But that will only last until Tesla has sold 20,000 vehicles in the U.S., 200,000 vehicles in the U.S. God, I got everything written wrong. They're already halfway there. Elon plans to hand out the first 30 cars tonight, mostly to employees, and you can watch the event live streamed at tesla.com at 8:45 p.m. Pacific time.
So it's like you can tune into their staff meeting where all their employees get cars.
Yeah. Well, it's only 30, so
Yeah.
I think they have more than 30 people, and I think it will be, it will be more exciting than any staff meeting I've been to. I think
true.
we have like some video from their Instagram.
Wow.
That is actually what the Twit staff meetings usually look like.
Yeah,
But any other company I've worked for, not so
usually
pretty.
done in a stadium. Lots of lights. So there are still some unanswered questions about the Model 3, particularly a lot of questions around the interior. I guess up to this point, we've heard a lot we've seen a lot of the exterior shots. We know very little about the interior, a single dashboard screen. Obviously, the fact that it seats up to 5 people, but there hasn't been any real reveal of the interior. So if you're looking for like new information, I'm guessing if they're throwing this big event about the car and the fact that it's going to start actually being in streets and all that kind of stuff, you're going to actually have those questions answered tonight. I'm sure Elon's going to go into detail on some of the unannounced as of yet aspects of the Model 3.
Right, and we don't know about what those other features will be, the customizations, like how much self-driving it will have, like all the other features that the $100,000 Tesla has. You can add things to that $35,000 Tesla, but we don't really know what the pricing structure will be. We do know that it'll come in red, silver, metallic gray, and black.
Yeah, so everybody seems to be looking at this announcement and kind of comparing it to the original iPhone announcement and everything. I mean, there is the big difference that like an iPhone made a big splash, at least partially because it was within everyone's grasp, and this is a vehicle. This is a car that is not inexpensive. I mean, it's inexpensive for what you get, I suppose, but it's still not this thing that everybody's going to rush out tomorrow and get. So there's still a lot of barriers. But for the category, this is a very big deal. And I should point out that there's already one of these floating out there in the world. This has already been given to one person. That's Elon Musk. He got his lucky on July 9th. But, you know, he kind of owns the company, so he's allowed.
The other difference between this and the iPhone is that you won't be able to fit this Model 3 in your pocket.
That we know of. Could be a feature. I'm just saying. That'd be a heavy car in your pocket. Anonymous social services like Yik Yak and Secret have been dropping like flies lately, but Whisper is taking its sweet time dropping like a fly. The company has laid off 20% of its workforce this week, or 14 of 71 employees. The editorial team supposedly saw the brunt of the hits as the company relies further on machine learning to handle some of those media management tasks. So point one for machine learning taking our jobs. Whisper has around 20 million active monthly users, so it's not a dead zone yet. When it comes to its marketable audience, it can still, you know, kind of monetize the users that it has. That's no horrible number. 20 million is pretty decent. Apparently Whisper saw no revenue a year ago. They've been tearing through around $2 million per month for years, according to a TechCrunch source. But after this layoff, they expect $100,000 in free cash flow in August. Revenue expected to hit $12.5 million in 2017 after everything settles down. So not bad for a company that was apparently kind of has been struggling for a while. They just apparently need to do the layoffs to kind of continue on.
Yeah, so the AI is going to, you said, to manage some of their media management tasks, which as far as I could tell from reading was like taking people's secrets that they put on Whisper and then adding ads to it.
Right.
I mean, that's essentially what it is. So if that was your dream job since you were a little girl or boy, adding ads to people's secrets such as, quote, these women totally thought they were being proposed to. That's one of the things they're adding ads to. I've lost interest in my husband because he doesn't try anymore. Things like that, just like total clickbait stuff. So yeah. I'm not crying that many tears for Whisper, I have to say. But I mean, I hate to see people laid off, but I think that you can probably find something better to do. And they were being paid really well, apparently, because if you put the numbers, it said then they're going to like have. They wrote in the TechCrunch article how much cash flow they'll have after laying all these people off. So they were getting pretty well paid to add ads to that clickbait. And you know, yesterday we talked a lot about Twitter, and we talked about you know, daily active users versus monthly active users versus YOW, which doesn't exist, the yearly active users. I mean, this is the problem with. Yeah, this is the problem with things like Whisper and Secret. They're not creating a network. There's no, you know, part of going back every day is that your friends are there, whether they're friends in real life or the friends that you've made online. And that's not what these networks are designed for. They're designed for you to like send out your greatest fear or secret and then read other people's secrets. Right.
And be confident that you're putting, if you're going to use the service the way it's intended, be confident that you are going to stay anonymous and sharing whatever that piece of information is. It's the whole secret fad when Secret was around a couple of years ago and people were breaking news from it and being like, oh, did you hear? I saw it on Secret that this company is doing blah, blah, blah. Like I never understood like the appeal of it. It never, the lack of accountability because it is so anonymous. I get why someone would want to share something anonymously, but it makes it very difficult for me to take anything seriously that I ever see there and trust that I'm in the know on something just because it was posted in this anonymous network. So I'm not surprised that they've had a hard time. It's not only the lack of the network effect too, it's also just that when you have a social network like Facebook or Twitter or whatever that you have an identity to build it around and a network of people to build that around as well, you can target your ads better. And you get more money for ads if they're targeted. So, you know, for companies like this where it's all anonymized, they might be able to do advertising, you know, host ads on the site, but it's going to be less targeted. And as a result, they're going to make less money off of it in general. Right.
I mean, there is definitely appeal. Like back in our day in the during the .com fallout, there was the F Company. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That was the site that we all followed. And it was, you know, not all, but everyone working in the .com era. Like we were like, you know, are they going to be writing about us? And so there was definitely an interest in that. But there was, like you said, like there was no way to monetize that. There's no way to create a network. There's no way to encourage. I mean, to have you start giving away your personal information, you have to create a network, right? Like you have to, like I'm going to be showing pictures of my kids on Facebook because I have a network there. Like there are people that, you know, that I'm friends with that want to see those pictures, and I want to go on there to see other people's pictures. So yeah, you're right. It's partly that it's hard to create a network around just anonymous users, and it's hard to monetize those users as well. But it can be addicting, and you can understand the pleasure of like looking at those other people's secrets. So who among us hasn't had our favorite hangouts shut down because they've hit on hard times? I'm talking about real life hangouts, you know, like the Peach Pit on 90210.
Oh,
you know.
Boy, I was broken up about that one.
No, real life places you've hung out. And one would hope that this would be something we could avoid in the virtual world. Not so. Today, Comcast-backed Altspace VR announced that the company is shutting down on August 3rd because they've run into some unforeseen financial difficulty. According to Addie Robertson at The Verge, the deal for their next round of funding fell through. So there's no surprise. A lot of the funding is drying up, you know, in Silicon Valley. All VR we talked about when it first started. You went there on your iPhone. I went in there with someone's Oculus, I guess Leo's Oculus, just a few weeks ago. And, you know, I spent some time there. I talked to someone who was a robot bee. Like, there really seemed to be a real community there. There I am. You can't see me with the robot bee. But it was, you know, there were people that definitely knew each other. Like, there was a you know, avatar of someone. And I tried to talk to them and they didn't talk to me. And there was another avatar, a female avatar, who had a female voice as well. And she said, oh, he doesn't talk. So like there were people that were definitely spending a lot of time there. So I'm sure that they're upset about this going under.
Yeah. I mean, well, actually, there were around 35,000 visitors each month that spent around 30 minutes on average per visit. So yeah, I mean, it's not a huge number, but I guess in the world of VR is still this emerging technology, you know, and I guess that's a reasonable number for regular visitors. But I think this is indicative not just of Silicon Valley funding slowing down, but I mean, this could be kind of a harbinger of things around VR funding, because VR is a new technology. It's still somewhat unproven. There's a lot of activity going on the kind of console side and, you know, the different systems that exist and everything like that. But there were a lot of developers, people that flocked to VR because they saw a big opportunity to go into a new category and be early there, right? Altspace VR, founded in 2013, right around the time of the Oculus DK1 dev kit. Their last round of funding secured 2015. And then this time around, like you said, they had this funding, but they backed out. They obviously weren't that convinced that if they put their money in, that VR, at least, you know, based on this project, was something strong to get behind right now. They needed more convincing in that regard, and that could be a bad sign of things to come for other VR startups.
Yeah, there were weird things. I think it was ESPN that you could like go hang out. Like there were definitely some monetization going on in there, but it wasn't something that I saw people really spending a lot of time with. Like you could you could go to the presidential debates, you could go to, like, they had stand-up comedy, but yeah, sorry, it's gone.
Sorry, Altspace VR. The Black Hat Security Conference is underway in Las Vegas, and it's usually the time of the summer where we realize we aren't nearly as safe as we might have thought. And you guys, I realized a little bit late that you and Lindsay Turrentine talked a little bit about this story last week, but Nite Artestein of Exodus Intelligence demonstrated at Black Hat that iOS and Android devices were widely exploitable due to the Broadcom Wi-Fi chips inside of them that you talked about. But you can rest a little easier now, of course, knowing that both Google and Apple issued patches last week. You guys talked a little bit about that, but I think what's interesting here is a little bit of insight as far as what was going on exactly. Artenstein said it threatened more than 1 billion unpatched smartphones. It's a worm that pollutes the airwaves with connection requests for nearby devices, looking for devices using the specific Wi-Fi chipsets. You didn't have to actually have your Wi-Fi connected to a specific access point. Just having that Wi-Fi antenna fired up would be enough to be able to discover this by the worm. Once it was found, it rewrote firmware and basically controlled the chip to send bad packets to other devices that it located and spread exponentially from there. So I think part of the big discovery here is that we haven't seen a lot of these worms apparently in the wild like this, and now they're wondering if this is again kind of a sign of things to come. Is the worm attack such as something like this kind of resurging? Yeah,
I mean, it could have affected billions of devices if they had patched it. Update your phones, no matter what phone OS you use. Definitely update. I mean, when you think about it, Nitai Arenstein, who did this, it's just reverse engineering, and we really depend on these kinds of people to figure out what's going on. Because when you think about it, after it's been discovered, you think, of course, like here's this automatic thing that's going on. Every time my phone is constantly searching for Wi-Fi. Like I know better than to connect to free Wi-Fi networks, but my phone doesn't. You know, it's just doing that.
Right.
And I mean, there's all kinds of things that your phone say, oh, well, it's great that like I can walk into work or I can, walk into my house and then it'll just connect automatically to my network. But there's a lot of those things that are great and easy, but allow for some kind of malware to get on your system without you knowing at all.
Yeah, and especially just kind of the idea of, we're so used to thinking, or at least more and more we're growing to be used to thinking, don't trust the Wi-Fi access point that you're on if it's a public place. Do things to protect yourself, obscure yourself, VPN, whatever the case may be, to protect yourself from that connection. But if it doesn't matter whether you're connected to a Wi-Fi access point or not, that's a whole other story, because so many people do leave their Wi-Fi on when they leave the house because it does automatically connect the next time they come back, or whatever their trusted access points are. And I should also point out, someone mentioned this in chat room, they were being a little facetious about it, but when you're talking about 1 billion smartphones between Android and iOS, like, Google and Apple may have deployed patches for this, and I'm sure it's it's probably better on the iOS side than it is on the Android side. Not all of those billions of phones have received that update. So, even though it's on the radar and they've done the changes on their end, that doesn't necessarily mean that 1 billion phones have done what they need to do, which is actually have access to that update, thanks to whoever controls the updates on those phones, and then know to install it. Because there are a lot of people that get updates and they just don't think twice about it. They don't even do it because they're like, why do I need to update this phone? What is that notification for?
Yeah, and I sat right here in this seat last week and said, update your phone. And I didn't. It wasn't until yesterday when Apple said, there's an update available.
Yeah.
Here it is. And then I was like, oh, right, I didn't do that. Yeah. So, which is like, they don't do that. They don't push them at you until a few days after it exists. So.
Yeah.
So I'm not flawless. I know you all thought I was until I admitted that, but I'm not.
We are not flawless.
After the break, Sam Moscovich is here to review the week in gaming and some culture. But first, let's take a minute to thank ZipRecruiter, the sponsor of this episode. If you're in charge of hiring, you have the most important job in a company. The people you hire can make or break your business. And I think it's the most important. I think there are other important jobs like, who gets the snacks and who cleans out the refrigerator on Friday. And that here, of course, is Debbie, and whoever hired her knew where to look in the right places. Do you know where to post jobs to find the most qualified candidates? It can be really challenging, and it is really important to find great talent. It's the most important thing to a successful business. ZipRecruiter will connect you to the most qualified candidates for any job, including highly sought-after tech professionals. With just one click, you can post your job to 100 job sites. Their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your job better than anyone else. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. So you go to other job sites, and ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you like those other job sites do. It finds them. Over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. That is super quick. No more juggling emails or calls to your office. Simply screen, rate, and hire candidates all in one place. with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard. Connect with a wide variety of professionals, including IT experts, and take your company to the next level. Do it today. More than 200 million applications have been delivered. If you are currently searching for a job, ZipRecruiter will help you find your future job in any industry, including technology, government, business, finance, and more. Upload your resume and apply with one click. Be sure to check out the ZipRecruiter blog for recruiting tips and career advice. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And I didn't mean to imply that Debbie just takes care of the snacks in the refrigerator, because she does so much more. Basically, we would be falling apart right now for many reasons if she wasn't here. So thank you. And right now, you can find yourself a Debbie. Go post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/twit. That's ZipRecruiter.com/twit. We thank ZipRecruiter for their support.
All right, OkCupid is making a sizable change to what it offers its users, and Sam Moscovich is here to tell us all about that change. Welcome, Sam.
Hello, everybody here. Happy to be the dating site correspondent for Twit today.
Yeah, I mean, I will fully admit I'm relying on you, man, because I say sizable, but I have not been a part of this like modern age of internet dating that that seems like everybody else knows so much about, and I know nothing about. So, tell me, what does it mean to be a visitor on OkCupid, and how valuable is that metric to users?
Yeah, this is an interesting sort of subtle change to the site that has some users up in arms. OkCupid is a holdover from the older dating website era, before Tinder sort of took everything over with GPS, app-based dating. OkCupid being one of these more standard style ones with a questionnaire, but it's also very data-driven. So you answer a lot of questions, and it sort of maths you out a potential partner, mate, friend, whatever it is you're looking for out there. But they've been struggling to figure out how to get people to pay for the site for years, even though it is also advertising driven. And they have an A-list feature that sort of shows who likes you, because you can sort of do this shy thing where you hit like. And if the other person has already hit like on you, then it's this, oh, you guys like each other. We're going to tell you both. And now you guys should maybe start actually talking. So what OkCupid does for people who pay for it is that they let you know who likes you without you having to like them. It's this sort of like, oh, you've paid? We're going to hip you to who likes you, and you can just see how popular you really are. Now, the dating, it's sort of a weird thing to explain, because these dating sites are sort of funny in how we come up with these systems of nonverbal communication, you know, the equivalent of being at a bar and sort of like giving a wink in the corner. And one way that users of OkCupid did this was by having a visitors list. So you could opt into this system to where people, whether you're looking for friends or dates or whatever, could see, oh, someone saw your photo and clicked on you. And you had a sense of, oh, these are the people who've seen me and shown a tiny bit of interest. And that's sort of a way to look in and see, oh, yeah, maybe they might like me. So what changed today is OkCupid says, nah, visitors, you're not interested in that. You don't want that feature. You can no longer see whether or not or just who has visited you. It's gone. That sort of thing is gone. And that's this weird change that you would think, okay, not a big deal, whatever. It's online dating. You can still send messages and tap like and whatever. But what this has done now is it's essentially had OkCupid say this feature that's been there for about 10 years, they're getting rid of it. And instead, you're going to essentially have to pay in order to have any sense of who's been liking or checking you out. And that's just gotten people sort of upset. And what's really weird is OkCupid, one of the things that's always set it apart is that it has been very transparent on its blog, announcing new features, talking about data. They've even put out big studies about how attractiveness, a perceived attractiveness, can get you liked and get you clicked on and get you messages. They didn't go and announce this on their own website. Instead, they sent emails to people saying that the visitor feature was not valuable. And what we've already seen over at my report at Ars Technica is users coming out and saying, I actually met my partner because of the visitor feature. I saw that someone liked me, saw that they had liked me a bunch or visited me a bunch, had a hunch that maybe they were into me, and we started messaging, and we've been together ever since. So it's sort of this amazing microcosm of how social interaction can work out when the nonverbal stuff is taken out. For phone users, that's emoji. For something like a dating site, it's this weird visitor list thing.
So does the visitor list now becomes a paid feature, or it doesn't exist at all for anyone?
It doesn't exist at all for anyone. And instead, you can just see if someone has visited and then liked you if you pay. And that cost is $20 a month if you pay per month, $10 a month if you pay in 6-month chunks. You can even pay more for these extra features that put you at the top of general browsing or put your messages at the top of someone who you're interested in. So yeah, they're definitely moving toward that monetization. It's been a while since Match.com acquired OkCupid, and there were worries that many years ago when that happened of the site turning towards more paying sort of style stuff because Match.com has a lot of paid tier dating options. And this is really the first big move since then, that many years ago, of OkCupid saying, yeah, this sort of organic system we had in place, sorry, you're going to have to pay to get its facsimile.
So as I read your piece, I thought, how much of this online dating is really just like one big video game?
I mean, there's how much of any dating is like a weird version of The Sims. You know, it's about finding a match and playing a sort of game or being yourself. And that's more maybe of an artful video game. I don't know. But I mean, I have used a lot of different dating services and sites over the years. I met my first girlfriend in IRC in 1996. So I can definitely say the evolution of online dating and of just general male-female, of dating style, male-male, female-female, male-female, etc., gender fluidity, and on and on and on. All the ways that people meet online and how they overcome the lack of eye contact, the lack of nonverbal communication is fascinating to me. Those systems are just ripe for understanding and exploration, especially as we have a lot of young people who have most of their dating life happen on a screen as opposed to in person.
It's very strange to admit this, but I too, in 1996, met my girlfriend in IRC. So we
I bet that was you and me. I think I finally figured it out.
Different stories. Different story. I ended up moving to Montreal. So,
Whoa, ended up moving hold on. We need to redo this whole episode. That's at least an hour of content.
Craziness, I know. So in general, how does OkCupid stack up to the other players like Tinder, which is the one that we hear, I think, the most about these days?
Well, I always have enjoyed sites that let you have more data and more information. So just as a general nerd, I've always appreciated what OkCupid put out there, which is still apparently is working as such. I think it's more granular now to where when you answer questions and see someone else, they give you these different metrics that they didn't used to of how someone is about religion or about sexuality or these other sort of metrics in terms of, they may be more compatible with you in this respect than that respect. But ultimately, I think anytime you want to meet someone new for whatever reason, it's what you put into it. If you just want to like have a fling, there's a lot of different services that let you do that. If you want to make a real connection, you can write words or put images out there that sort of express what you want. Ultimately, it's about self-discovery. Find yourself before you find someone else is what I say. And I just think technology is just another weird tool towards that. But I do love extra data and extra questions and extra sort of number kind of stuff. And so I've always thought OkCupid was cool for that. But they're all crazy. Dating is terrible until it isn't.
All right, as long as I have you here, I'm going to ask you one more question. I have some friends, late 20s, early 30s, who hope to just meet a partner naturally, like reaching for the same book in a bookstore, a real bookstore, and then their hands touch. Is that possible for them?
Are you saying that you've got friends who are really looking for a good meet cute? I think that still exists. Okay. People ultimately do leave the house. But I do feel like computer dating only becomes more intense as we move toward a office-less world. I mean, I work from home. Meeting new people is difficult and weird, and it's not always so convenient for me. I actually had my mother ask me this years ago when she became single of, how do I meet people, Sam? It was a very weird conversation, but ultimately, it's tapping into your interests. Sometimes with computers and meetup.com and things like that, you can sort of it's it's just another tool of finding people. God, I dated people on MySpace. I definitely don't recommend that either then or now.
It's probably a good thing. Well, I don't know the story on your mom, but if she were to ask you the question now, it would be even stranger, I think, to introduce your mom to Tinder, or my mom to Tinder if she were dating.
Oh God, the podcast listeners can't even see the face I just made.
Yeah, your cheeks are a little pinker than normal too.
It's a strange world we live in, isn't it?
Could we change your title to? Could we change your Ars Technica title to video game, pop culture, and dating expert?
Yeah.
I've been asking them to let me do a nerd dating column. If twit.tv just wants me to host a half-hour relationships and social circle show, I would do it. So anyone who's listening who thinks that would be cool and thinks that I could present some of that, please lobby your friends at twit.tv.
I think that would be cool. Raise my hand. Okay, moving on from dating to maybe safer territory where I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth. You've been spending some time with a new game called Fortnite. Apparently, it just left its private beta. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Fortnite has been in development for years. This was announced in 2011 by Epic Games, who are responsible for series such as Gears of War and Unreal Tournament. They announced it, they told me, 3 weeks after they started making it. So kind of a weird choice on their part. And it was about 2 years ago that they said it was almost done and then pulled it back. And now it's finally out. And it's a fusion of Minecraft and Gears of War and some other sort of shooters. The idea is that you and other people online pop into this sort of zombie-infested world. And the object is to build everything for a base, to hit a button and have zombies come at you and try to kill all the zombies in a certain amount of time. The building aspect is very interesting because you essentially get this template of walls, floors, stairs, and traps. And what you find is you can just manually edit each of these little elements in myriad ways to create these incredibly complicated structures, forts, defenses, and so on. And you can just start out making like a very basic set of walls around like a defense point. And ultimately, you create these crazy sniper towers and these really twisty paths that zombies have to go through with lots of traps built into them all. And with multiple people involved, 4 people is the maximum. They can have different strengths. Some people can generate more of the resources that are needed to build things. Some people are better at then building stuff. Some people can add extra power to traps. Some people just are stronger with guns once the zombies show up because then you still have to shoot at them. So it's this sort of building and active combination. So a little bit more violent of Minecraft, but still not as like bloodthirsty as something like a Call of Duty or some such. It's a very interesting fusion of things we've all seen and heard of before with a very cute style. I think it runs really nicely on computer. It's still also on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and PlayStation performance is a little mixed. Xbox is actually better. That's very rare since the Xbox One is actually a little weaker than PlayStation 4. That's a whole nother topic, and anyone who's a super nerd about that, just look up Digital Foundry's look at Fortnite. They did a really good job of digging that one up. But there's one other curious thing, and actually Jason sent me an email when he was really confused. What was it that you were asking about that?
Well, on one hand, I read about the pay-to-play aspects of the game, but then on the other hand, there's like packages where you can buy the game. So I was kind of curious, like how does someone get it? Is it different now versus when it's officially released? What's the story on that?
Yeah, it's a curious thing because it's been announced. It's like it's out, it's ready to play, but then they call it a beta. They say it's free to play, but you can't play it without paying right now. So here's how it works. I call this early access, paid early access. The idea being eventually it's going to be done and it's going to be free to play where you just download it and you can start playing and you can earn some of the gear and earn some of the items and things while you're playing. But they're not there yet. So if you want to join in, you have to pay. You get a founder's pack, which I'm blanking on the exact price. It's either $40 or $60, and that lets you in early. So you can start playing, and some of the game is a little bit buggy, especially the menus look kind of early and unfinished. There's also no versus modes yet, and it seems like they're going to be adding that, but you're paying now because you can't wait. You can't wait to try out this weird game, and that $40 or $60 gets you some of the stuff that you would have paid for if you were in free to play and wanted to kind of upgrade. So you're paying now and you get some of these extra perks. And everything comes in loot crates in a lot of these games. And Fortnite's version is this silly thing, llama pinatas. So anytime you pay a little bit or anytime you get a perk, a little llama appears and then you beat the crap out of it with a stick, and then items and things in the game pop out. And I know they did that so that all of my friends would just say the word llama a lot, because I've got a Discord channel where we talk about the game. It's just llama, 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 llama. So it is a little confusing and weird, but ultimately they're experimenting with something to say it'll eventually be free to play. But while the game is unfinished, we're going to have people try it out who are so desperate to play a free-to-play game that they want to pay for it. And so far, it seems like they're paying. What I've heard from the guys making the game is that the most expensive quote-unquote Founders Pack is the one that sold the most before the game was even out, which was $150. Wow. People were throwing down more for that, both in quantity and in overall revenue, than any of the other packs, which is nuts. So somebody out there is wanting to spend money on a thing that's unfinished. I'm having fun with it. It's also got a lot of stuff in it, a lot of menus and things to unlock. And there's current complaints from people who are playing the game a bunch, saying that eventually you hit sort of a wall where you need to pay to get better. Like at some point, you can't simply just play it and be good, which most free-to-play games are at least let you like play it for a while and you don't spend money, but as you just play and play and play, you eventually unlock the things. And some of the game's top level players, not all of them, some of them are saying, uh-oh, I hit a wall. I have to pay if I want to keep playing. That sucks. So hopefully Epic, who made the game, is watching this while it's still in early access period to tune that out so that when eventually it is free, people can join in and really not have to pay to at least have a good time. That they can pay if they want to add, accessories or silly things like that, as opposed to paying to actually be better, which I hate in games.
Well, this model seems to be a similar model to the way like Oculus was introduced. You could pay for early access. You could pay like a huge amount of money for the headset. And then now it's obviously a lot cheaper. So like they get the early adopters to pay a lot more. I mean, a lot of like hardware starts out that way, right?
And there are other games that are doing this. All last year, Electronic Arts, EA, was experimenting with if you bought the deluxe edition, which is $20-$30 more of particular games, you'd get to play it 4 or 5 days earlier. And people paid for that little privilege. So that's not going away. You're going to see even more of that this fall as we get our September, October, November sort of video game releases, where you pay that extra for the deluxe edition and, you get to play 4 or 5 days early. And so clearly the market is speaking and saying, yeah, that people will accept that extra fee for something that is not technically out. So, yeah, I don't see why companies wouldn't do it if last year it already was so ragingly successful.
Yeah, you're just paying to be first, right?
Right.
Uh-huh.
And that has value for a lot of people. Finally, Matt Groening of Simpsons and Futurama fame is making a whole lot of fans happy with the news that his latest endeavor will actually be on Netflix as an exclusive. Tell us what you know about this. I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think the show is called Disenchanted. My phone notes just went blank. Is that right? It's coming to Netflix in 2018. It is Matt Groening's first online streaming series, his first series since co-creating Futurama. And it's been in production, I guess, since the beginning of last year, because it was Deadline Hollywood that had a report last year saying that he was behind closed doors working out a deal with Netflix. And that 2-year timeline between that hint and the 2018 launch seems about right, because it takes about 2 years for a series to happen. And when we say Matt Groening new series, we're also saying a ton of people who are involved with Futurama are coming. Rough Draft Studios was the animation studio responsible for a lot of Futurama. They're on board with Disenchanted, and a bunch of voice actors from Futurama are on board. John DiMaggio, who's the voice of Bender, Billy West, who is the voice of Fry, Professor Farnsworth, and a zillion other characters, Tress MacNeille. A bunch of that Futurama cast is coming on board. But none of them are the main characters. We actually have Eric Andre, who's got that crazy show on Adult Swim. He's on board. Abby Jacobson from Broad City, another actor whose name I'm blanking on. There's a trio of folks who have never been involved in a Matt Groening series, so that means this voice cast is bulky and built out. And yeah, I look forward myself to this series because it's Matt Groening's twist on fantasy. You know, we've seen the twist on the family sitcom, which, you know, The Simpsons did that nobody was really doing back in, you know, the late 80s, early 90s. And then we had that Matt Groening twist on sci-fi, which, you know, really set a tone for things that was never huge other than, you know, your Mystery Science Theaters and Galaxy Quest. And, you know, you can rank some of those accordingly. And now it's a satire of the fantasy genre, and Game of Thrones popularity has made it clear that people would eat that up. And we haven't seen much of that. The best I can think of is The Guild, which was the web series that wasn't really making fun or putting that Groening style spin on fantasy. So clearly there is material to be worked with there. We haven't seen any footage. We have no idea how it's going to look or sound. No characters have been revealed. But I just think there's enough nerdy bees in the jar to shake up to get a good buzz sound out of it. I'm stoked that it's going to happen. And I'm very hopeful that it'll be something at least interesting, if not good.
Yeah, Disenchantment is going to be the name of it. And you mentioned in here 20 episodes ordered, premiering in 10-episode chunks. So right out of the gate, they know. I mean, it's Matt Groening. Like, you don't have to take a chance with Matt. You know what I mean? You know he's going to produce something solid. So. Well,
there's been a lot of concern about how Futurama had its hiatus, came back with Comedy Central, and there are fans who look at that and go, I mean, did we really need it to come back? Because some of the Comedy Central stuff was uneven. But I think even bad Futurama was better than no more Futurama. Yeah. And so I do look forward to Matt, especially, you know, having some time to recollect and build a whole new series, and being on Netflix. Let's see how blue he gets. Let's see what kind of weird stuff, because anyone who's been following Matt Groening since his early 80s cartooning days knows life in hell can push even more boundaries than some of the other material. So will it have cussing? Will it have really dark, vulgar stuff that has zero network censorship involved? I'm curious.
If it's modeled after Game of Thrones, I'm thinking, probably a little bit.
Yeah, you can't do the Matt Groening Red Wedding on network television. That is for sure.
No, my interest is piqued, especially for that point alone. Sam Miskovich, Ars Technica, appreciate it as always. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. I'm going to go play the game Tacoma, which comes out next week. We will be talking a lot about that. Oh, cool. I see that my profile's been updated.
Yeah.
While I'm talking about things I'm excited about, and you guys are messing with me, but that's okay. I'm going to go play this game instead of being a dating expert. Sorry.
Sorry, it's in your lower third. You are officially a dating expert now.
Yeah.
So,
I'm happy to help. Everybody, you know, pile onto my OkCupid profile if you find it.
Right on. Thanks again, Sam. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. Bye, man. All right, coming up, a little clarification about that Roomba that could be cataloging the layout of your home, sweeping up all that data. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage, the sponsor of this episode. The mortgage experience wasn't keeping up with the times. It was dated. It needed a client-focused technological revolution. And that is why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage gives you the confidence that you need when it comes to buying a home, or even if you're refinancing your existing home loan. It's simple. It allows you to fully understand all the details and be confident that you're getting the right mortgage for you. It's convenient. Their trusted partners allow you to share your financial information with Rocket Mortgage at the touch of a button. They make it super easy. It's powerful. Whether you're looking to buy your first home or even your 10th, Rocket Mortgage is able to perform thousands of calculations in seconds. It does all the heavy lifting for you. It's based on your income, your assets, and credit. Rocket Mortgage takes all that information, analyzes all of the home loan options for which you qualify based on that information, and then will help you find the one that's just right for your scenario, the one that's the best fit for you. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/TNT. That's rocketmortgage.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support.
Got some feedback. Daniel from Wisconsin writes, I was listening to your discussion with Owen J.J. Stone in episode 1814 regarding Wolfram Alpha, using it to cheat in math. I'm not a mathematician, but I believe that kids should learn the basic concepts of math so they can invent more math and build a better future of science. To illustrate, I suggest watching the movie Hidden Figures. The black women who helped NASA put a man on the moon, especially the mathematician, had such a strong grasp of the concepts of math that she was able to think outside the box and make history happen. Thank you, Daniel. That is an excellent movie. I don't know.
I haven't seen it yet. I really want to, though.
You got to see it with your daughters. I think it's appropriate. I can't remember.
I'm sure it's more or less appropriate.
Maybe. It's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's PG-13. I think it's PG. It is great. I saw it with my boys, but
So was the discussion? And forgive me because I didn't hear this discussion with you and Owen.
You didn't watch while you were on vacation?
No, I was in the woods. I was up in the mountains. So was it just based around the idea that like technologies like Wolfram Alpha allow us to do things so that we don't have to actually understand how they're done because we've got the right tools to do it instead?
Well, so Wolfram Alpha actually goes through the steps. So now, like a lot of kids are asked, like, show your work, show us how you got there. That's more important. And so it was a Wired story. A teacher put a really super hard problem to her high school students, and they all showed their work, and the showing the work was exactly the same. And she thought, and it was Wolfram Alpha. And so Owen, Owen, he had some strong opinions about how kids don't even need math anymore. And, that's, he knows that kids need math. And I would be surprised if he hasn't also seen Hidden Figures with his daughter, because I feel like I saw them take a selfie when they were seeing it. So, but yeah, it's true. And thank you so much for your feedback, Dan.
Yeah, as always. TNT's fan of the day is Andre Vandal, who sent us this inspirational image on Twitter. Andre says, every day it's on. He's talking about TNT. Every day it's on. When it's not, oh dear, And the image is one of those motivational posters that you've seen with a little girl with her arms wide open. It says, addiction, always having something to look forward to. Well, that's certainly one way to look at it.
Well, I hope he was referring to our discussion yesterday about how we were both secretly addicted to Twitter.
I like to think that he's addicted to TNT.
Well, I like to think he is addicted, and that we are addicted to Twitter, and it's good because we always have something to look forward to.
I don't know if I look forward to what I find on Twitter a lot of the times. But yes, I will admit I'm addicted to Twitter. So thanks for sending that in. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup. You can post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we're going to find it.
Earlier this week, I floated one of my very special conspiracy theories that I can only say when Jason is here, because the fill-in co-hosts, I don't want to frighten them. This one was about Roomba secretly listening to us and selling all of our room mapping information to the highest bidder. Now iRobot has clarified the CEO's comment, saying they will only share data with other smart home devices of yours with customers' permission. They will never sell your data, so your Roomba is still your best friend, your vacuum, and the best duck frightener that we've ever seen. So
that's the only reason I get a Roomba, is to frighten ducks.
Frighten your ducks.
Yeah,
yes.
all of my ducks that I have in a row.
Gets them all in a row pretty quickly.
All right. Do you trust that this will always be iRobot's stance on this data? It's tempting, right?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question because, I mean, I haven't. I'm sure someone could prove me wrong. At Megan Maroney had a CEO heard of a CEO coming out and say, "We will never sell your data," and that now they're currently selling our data. So.
Yeah, I feel like you hear that a lot. Like we take the data and we will never sell it. I wonder if there are what good examples there are of that statement being professed and then actually it happening.
Right.
At some point down the line. I'm sure there are a few examples, but I have none at the top of my mind right now.
And we could have looked at the security, the terms of service, I guess. That's where you can really tell. Like, if they really aren't, have they said that in the terms of service?
Right. And can you find it in there? Because sometimes it's not easy to find that stuff. TNT records live every Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 2300 UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. You can leave us a short voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW and find us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV.
And hey, subscribe to our show. Go to twit.tv/TNT to subscribe to our show. Go to twit.tv, subscribe to the other shows. Check out what you might be interested in. You never know. We might have a show that you hadn't even heard of that you would be excited to subscribe to. So please go do that. You can also find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and so many other places, Spotify. And if you want to tweet at me to tell me of an instance of some company promising never to sell our data and now they're selling it, Find me on Twitter. I'm at Megan Maroney.
CC me on that, or BCC me if you prefer. I don't care. At Jason Howell. You can't BCC on Twitter. I don't think so. Whatever. Thanks to our technical director, Anthony, of course. Thanks to Mario for helping out here in the studio. Thanks to Kevin for editing the show. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today and all week. We'll see you on Monday. Bye, everyone.